The £342,000 mistake we dodged at auction. Welcome back, guys. My name is Malki Pirowa, one half of Savoys Properties. I've actually been in the property industry now for 24 years, specializing in HMOs for 15 years and commercial to residential conversions for the past 13 years. Now, the reason we're looking at this particular deal is since 2013, the government's actually simplified the planning process to convert commercial buildings to residential use, and actually made it a lot easier in 2021 with the introduction of Class E as a use class that would cover what we would normally have as Class A1, Class A2, Class A3, and so on, and just amalgamate them all together to make one use class. Now, with the use of Class MA, all it takes is a prior approval application to the council. So basically what you need to do is put in an application saying it's permitted development to change the use of this former commercial building to, say, 3 flats that we were going to do in this scenario. The council has 56 days to actually approve the application. If they don't approve it within this time period, then it's classed approved. Now, it's only a handful of conditions that you need to ensure that you meet when it comes to commercial to residential conversions. It's like noise tests, environmental issues, parking, and these are all quite straightforward to actually approve because you just use specialists that can produce reports that will actually back up your application. So with this deal, how did it go wrong and how did we end up dodging that £342,000 mistake? Well, the way it basically happened was we were a little bit lapsed with checking the whole legal pack. We assumed the property had a water connection and we assumed that there was a sewage connection with the building, but only once we completed, we found out the building actually has a septic tank in the rear, and that septic tank was on someone else's land, so we weren't actually able to use this. We actually used a utility consultant to actually find out how much it would actually cost to actually connect us to the nearest sewage connection, which was about 90 meters away, ran through some supermarket land. It actually cost £1,000 per meter, plus a £5,000 plus VAT connection cost, totaling up to £120,000. The other option was to go to Thames Water, and when we actually looked at their costs, it actually came in at £342,000. Now, with those two options, you can see that the deal was no longer going to be feasible. So we had to look at another solution. The solution was actually to introduce our own sewage treatment plant on our own land. So disconnecting the original septic tank that we had, using a specialist drainage company to actually come in, put this treatment plant in, make it easy for it to be maintained going forward, and ensuring that it will be able to service the 3 flats that we were actually going to create. By working with a specialist drainage company and using some new technology, we're actually able to avoid that £300,000 plus sewage connection costs. We were able to ensure that we were able to stick to our 6-month turnaround for actually starting the works and exiting the finance, and most importantly, the deal did not fall apart. Now, to be a successful developer, you need to be able to find solutions to problems. And these problems can happen during the purchasing stage, during the build stage, and even at your exiting stage. It could be just when trying to exit your finance and a lender changes a product or pulls a deal. You need to be able to work around it. Now, the way that we're actually able to do this is by working with specialists within their field, trusting their judgment and working with their guidelines and ensuring that we can actually ensure that all our deals are successful. In life, I'm a firm believer you can actually make a mistake, but you should never make the same mistake twice. So when I actually looked at this deal and reflected back on it once it was complete, I actually thought to myself, okay, so now what you have to actually do is ensure that the building is connected. You can actually do this by looking at the utility searches. So in this case, it would have been a Thames Water search that I would actually had to look at. I knew there was a water connection in there because we saw there was running water, but the problem was I actually assumed that there was a sewage connection when the actual sewage was actually going to a septic tank in the rear of the building, and I never saw this because it was actually on a neighboring land where it's sort of overgrown and hidden. The other thing is always work with specialist consultants. If something goes wrong, Rather than trying to pull your hair around, trying to work something out yourself, find a specialist within that area, see whether they've actually worked on a similar scenario, and ask them what's the most cost-effective and most efficient way of actually putting this right. Don't assume anything when it comes to property. Always ensure that it's actually there. So in this case, I actually turned up on site. I saw there was a water connection. I saw it had running water. However, my assumption on the sewage was it actually was connected because I saw there was toilets and so on, but I did not know where that was going. And this is something that you actually need to ensure, especially when you're converting a unit from a single unit to 3 units in this case. The biggest takeaway here is it's easy to check something and it's very expensive if you did not. Before you guys go, make sure you hit that bell icon, subscribe, leave a comment. We're back each and every week. We have a free Savoys community. The details are actually in the description, where you can ask questions to myself, my business partners, and other members of the team, and we'll get back to you on that.